Charlie, we're down here at the AJ Bell London Triathlon. You've just done a race. How was your race today?
It was really nice, and it was a sprint, so it was so different from what I've been doing. I've gone crazy mad, full-on long endurance, so it was a bit strange that I was going a bit quicker. I was like, oh, maybe I should go a bit quicker than this. And on the bike just went like that, because I've been so used to doing really long bike rides. I was like, oh, this is so nice. I'm a little bit annoyed with myself because I did miss my wave. Not entirely my fault. I was doing photos and talking and doing press shots, and I hadn't racked my bike, and I'd got 10 minutes to go to the race, so rushed and racked my bike, and then went to the swim assembly, and everybody gone, and they'd already set my whole wave off, so they wouldn't let me go, and then ran down, and then the kayak man wouldn't let me in, and then I argued with him a little bit, and then just jumped in. So I set off about 4 minutes after my wave, so I was just like, oh. So that was a bit annoying, because I think I don't know, I wasn't very relaxed on the swim, and normally I'm, because I've been learning total immersion, so I'm very kind of like overglide, relaxed on my swim, and I probably looked a bit messy this time because I was in a bit of a panic that I'd missed the wave, but I really enjoyed it. Gorgeous day.
Well, I mean, it brings me on nicely really, because you've really embraced triathlon, and I know you've been doing a lot, and you've done a lot very quickly, so I just wanted to kind of talk about your Ironman journey. So we obviously saw you finish at Bolton, so that was great, but how did you decide you wanted to do an Ironman?
Somebody actually suggested that I get into triathlon about 5-6 years ago at a marathon expo. So I've always done running, and I love running, and then I've done 10 marathons to date, and just really enjoy running. They said that to me, and I was like, no way, I'm not doing triathlon. I'm a runner. And the reason why was not because I'm ignorant to triathlon, because I couldn't swim. So I was a bit embarrassed that I couldn't swim. So then I thought about it, and I was like, no. So carried on doing my marathons, and then just heard people that I got to know in triathlon, and just was like, oh, maybe I should try it. Then I got injured, and I couldn't run for 3 months. So then the physio said to me, right, you need to find something else. And I was like, well, boxing, because boxing is the other thing I do. And no, you can't do that because it is my hips. And they were like, you have to swim. And I said, well, I can't swim. No, you're gonna have to. You've got to not run for 3 months. And that's how, it was almost like getting injured was the best thing that happened to me, because I had to learn to swim. Because otherwise, if I do no exercise, it'd make me go completely crazy. So I need to like burn my energy, and it gives me a focus, and it helps me so much in my everyday life. So I started to learn to swim, and the first couple of times I went to the pool, I had major strops with myself, not with anybody else, because I couldn't get to the other end, and this was 2 years ago. So it just shows you how if you put your mind to anything, you can overcome it, because I also really lacked confidence with swimming and had a really bad relationship with it. Like I really didn't like it, and just thought I was really rubbish. So it was the swimming that was holding me back. So learn how to swim, and then somebody entered me into this thing, the London Triathlon, 2 years ago. That was 5 weeks before. 5 weeks I'd been learning to swim, and I'd had a couple of lessons, and I was just coming back from my injury. So I was like, okay, this will be good. And then I went, yeah, all right then. And then a week before I was like, crap. I was like, I still can't swim properly. I didn't even have a bike. I didn't even own a bike, and I'd done 4 bike rides. The day before I still didn't have a bike, so I had to borrow somebody's bike. I didn't know how to learn to put cleats in. The car park underneath here, the day before the London Triathlon 2 years ago, is where I learned how to use cleats for 20 minutes. I was like trying to learn on somebody else's bike that didn't even fit me. So that's how I started my triathlon journey, and it's so nice to be here today, because 2 years ago I was so underconfident. I got in the water and I was panicking, I was really nervous about the swim, and today I just got in obviously late and just spent the time trying to catch people, and my mentality towards swimming has completely changed, and I think that's what really stops people from doing triathlon. So then I did the London Triathlon, and then actually didn't do a triathlon for a year, and then I did the running challenge where I ran to 40 football clubs for charity. And then after that I was like, right, I just think I should get back into triathlon. And again, I had a few injuries from running, and triathlon is great because it's mixed sports, you know, it's great cross training, so you're not constantly putting the pressure on your body through running, because I was running 6 times a week, but with triathlon I run twice a week, swim twice a week, and bike twice a week, so it mixes it up. So then Ironman actually tweeted me, and I was like, right, that's it, and I just went, yeah, I'm going to do an Ironman. So I committed to it, and that's what I do, and that's my biggest tip for anybody, is just commit to it, and then you do it. Because if I hadn't committed to it, I probably wouldn't have done it, because you get busy with other things, and then went and did an Ironman. So I'd done one triathlon, and then did an Ironman, and then the Ironman said to me, okay, you need to do a half beforehand, just because we need to see that you're okay at distances. So I did the half Ironman 5 weeks before the UK Ironman, and did the UK Ironman.
I mean, you took it very serious. I mean, that's an impressive story, if not a bit crazy. I was chatting briefly just before to your coach, Dermot. So you obviously took it very seriously. I mean, you trained and you really wanted to do well. I mean, I know you're, as well as completing these things, you do actually like to compete. I mean,
Yeah, I'm really competitive, and I don't do anything by halves either. I've just got that in my makeup, and no matter what, sometimes I try and change it or calm it down, but you know what, I just accept that's who I am, and I like that's who I am, because it means I go and do these crazy things. So I won't do anything by halves, which can be a little bit of a detriment sometimes, because I don't know how to rein it back. But it was great working with Dermot from RG Active, because he helped me kind of organise myself a bit better, because I can be quite manic in my organisation, and I think it's really important, especially in Ironman, that you do organise your training better than I probably would if I was doing a marathon. And also I learned so much, because I don't know what I'm doing really with the bike and the swim, and I do with running. I know how to coach myself in running, so it was just great to learn and get out on the bike. And again, I really lacked confidence on the bike, and I increased my pace so much, and to me it's about just learning and being the best I can be. I don't mind, about beating anybody. I'm really competitive, but not necessarily with other people, just with myself, and getting the best out of myself and pushing myself. It's really important to me, and to be fair, I take that in my everyday life. That's just the way I am, and I think actually doing Ironman and doing triathlons and training can benefit your everyday life so much as well, because you take that mentality and the dedication into your work life and also into your family life.
Well, taking on, you did Ironman 70.3 Staffordshire.
Yeah.
And how did you find that race?
I loved it. I loved Ironman 70.3 Staffordshire. It was my favourite race I think I've ever done, bar a couple of really cool marathons I've done. I just loved it so much. I think it's the distance. I think that distance really suits me, because the sprints are too fast for me, because I've got a lot of endurance. So, doing that 5k, I was just getting into things, and I'm pacey, but I can keep it going for at least another, till a half marathon. So yeah, I almost just a bit I've only just started to get going. I'm a bit slow to get going. So a half Ironman I think is a great distance for me, and I just really enjoyed it. The only thing I didn't like about the Staffordshire half Ironman, and I think everybody will say the same who did it, was the swim was freezing. It was so cold, and again, I think I've only just got my swimming confidence actually from Bolton, because I did my fastest ever swim on the UK Ironman Bolton. I knocked 10 minutes off my Staffordshire time at that distance.
Oh wow.
So I think I just really focused on the swimming, because I was in Staffordshire and was like, okay, my swimming needs work, and I just struggled with the cold so bad. The last 400 metres I couldn't feel my hands or my feet, and I was almost hypothermic getting out, and I was not in a good place. I was like and I got onto the bike, and then just loved the bike, and I loved the fact that I just chased loads of people down, because the women set off at the back, so they set off all the men for an hour and a half, and then put the women at the back. And I actually quite liked it, because I started to catch men, and I was like, I know for a fact you set off at least 20 minutes before me. And the run was really pleasant, and again, a half marathon distance really suits me. I felt really strong on the run, and also I've been training for an Ironman, so I've got the Ironman distance in my legs, because that's what I've been training on. So the half Ironman was brilliant, and what a great day out. It was the first one as well, and it was the most women that I've ever taken part in a half Ironman, which is great.
Wow. And did you take confidence from that race, I mean, or were you feeling, I've got to do double that?
Yeah, no, I took so much confidence from the half Ironman in Staffordshire, and I was really worried actually. To me, I always put more pressure on that than I did on the Ironman, because I knew that I had to have a good 70.3 to be confident about the Ironman. If I had a bad 70.3 in Staffordshire, it would have completely wrecked my mindset for the full Ironman, which was only 5 weeks away. So I had a great race and just crossed the line, and I was like, I've got so much more in my legs. And that's what Dermot, coach from RG Active, said to me. He said, make sure you've got it in you. You could carry on going, and it was so nice to cross the line. And I saw my friends in Dermot quite a few times in the half Ironman, and I was like, should I go faster? And the fact that I was holding myself back was really, really nice, because obviously on the UK Ironman I totally wasn't. So yeah, when I crossed the line I took so much confidence and couldn't wait to do the UK Ironman, although it was a bit daunting. Actually a bit like, oh my gosh, I've done this and I've got to do twice as much now.
And onto Ironman Bolton, obviously it was very wet that morning. I mean, I assume there was nerves before pre-race?
Oh, UK Ironman, I was so nervous because it's so out of my depth, and obviously I've never done an Ironman, so new to triathlon, and I always have doubt. I always go through things in my head and I'm like, can I do this? Am I going to be cut off? Like, I would just be devastated if I'd be cut off. And am I going to be strong enough in the swim? Because again, I lack so much confidence in the swim. And the half Ironman in Staffordshire did give me so much confidence, but the one thing it didn't do was the swim, because I was so cold. But then what it made me do is made me go and do a lot of open water, which I hadn't previously done, which is probably why I struggled. And then I did some good 2 miles in a reservoir locally to me, and that really helped. But the morning of the UK Ironman, it was chucking it down. I mean, like tropical torrential rain in Bolton. It was like typical British summer. It was cold and freezing as well, and I just felt so sorry I had like 15 friends and my family coming along, and they were just like, I was like, oh no, what have I dragged them to? They're gonna just hate me forever. And then things like, I've got a Garmin and I couldn't get it on the bike, so I started to panic, and I was like trying to find an Allen key and nobody would lend me an Allen key because everybody else was panicking about their own stuff, and just things like that. And I do get really nervous, and then I lined up for the swim assembly, and I remember being like, because it's just a mass start, so everybody just gets in, and I was like, oh no, where shall I go, and I was like, and I was quite up at the front, and then I like held back a bit because I didn't want to get in with all those crazy fast swimmers. And then got in the swim, and I think it's always the worst bit. It's like going on a roller coaster. The worst bit is the queuing up, the waiting to get on the roller coaster when you get that funny feeling in your tummy. But once you get going, the funny feeling goes, because all you've got to do is concentrate on what you've got to do, because there's so many people. And when I set off, I was like, oh my god! And somebody was hitting me that side, and then somebody grabbed hold of my ankle, and I was just like, what are you doing? Kicked him as well. I'm sorry if you're out there. And just people around you all the time, but I actually quite liked that it was torrential rain, because it almost gave it a, I don't know, quite a hardcore feel where you're like, oh, I've got to get through this, and gave you that mentality. So the swim was tough, and I always get nervous. I've done so many different races and I always get nervous, but I take it as a good thing because it means I'm ready to go. If I wasn't nervous, it means I wouldn't care.
And Bolton, obviously, you come out the water and then go back in for the second lap. Is that hard, or you don't really even think like that? I mean, to actually go back out and know you've got to do the same distance again.
When I first heard that it was, you had to get out of the swim and go back in again, so 2 laps. What's it called? Like an Australian loop, I think it's called. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, what is this? I can't even do that. I'm not even doing that. I'm a bit like that. I was like, well, I've got to get out and then run and then get back in again. And it was the best thing ever, because it breaks the swim up. So you do your 1 lap, and then you're like, oh my god, I've done 1 lap. Get out, refreshes the legs a bit. Saw my mum screaming at me, which is really funny because apparently my brother said that she was screaming at everybody with the blue cap, which is every single person of the Ironman, thinking it was me. And it was great because I saw them and I was like, oh, I've already done 1 lap, that's great. And then run round, and it just gets the legs going a bit and warms you up, and then get back in again, and then you know that you're on your home straight. And actually really, really enjoyed that. It was much better than doing the long distance just in 1 big horrible lap.
And onto the bike, obviously it was still raining when you went out on the bike, and it rained for quite a little bit, and it's a pretty tough course, Bolton.
I found the bike the hardest bit of the Bolton UK Ironman course. I really have to say I struggled on it, and I've done a lot of biking, and I think it was just the fact that the weather was so bad, and I've been training in quite hot weather, and I have done a few windy bikes, but it was so windy. We just had a constant headwind because it's looped and it's over the Lancashire moors, and you have hills. There's one hill called Sheep House Lane and I'm not exaggerating, it's like that. There was people getting off their bikes to actually walk it around, and you do that twice, and it must go on for like at least a mile and a half, at least, because it goes up and then it turns and then it goes up again, and then you hit the top of the Lancashire moors and the wind's coming at you and the rain, and because you're right at the very top, all the elements, and even going downhill, I need to just not pedal for a minute. Went like that, didn't pedal, which is, you know, what you normally do to conserve going downhill because you can get some pace. I was like, okay, I'm not moving and I'm going downhill. That's how strong the wind was. So, oh my god, I'm gonna have to pedal downhill. And I had to pedal, and it was an effort actually going downhill because of how strong the wind was. The spectators were amazing though, I have to say. There was a couple of times where my head was really low and I was just like, how am I even gonna run a marathon after this? And I just had to get that out of my head because I just had to go, okay, just get around the first loop of the bike. And this was on the first loop of the bike. I was feeling this, like I was feeling tired already, and I was uncomfortable, and I needed the toilet, just things like, you know, things that you don't think about. But then every time I went through a village, which is great because it was like the Tour de France, like there's people that crowded around you and almost made like a tunnel, and that like lifted me again for the next like 10 miles until I saw somebody else, and so that was really good. But I do have to say, I found the bike really, really tough. I found that there was no straights really to get any pace up. It was very like turny and just really hilly, and it took a lot out of my legs and my back, and I just felt exhausted when I got off the bike.
And obviously running something you've done a lot of, you know, running, I mean, assume there was some comfort that you just had a run left to do.
I couldn't wait to get off that bike. I was like, yes, get this saddle off me. And then I went into transition and I completely changed because I was uncomfortable. I put running shorts on, and you know, my Skechers trainers, and you know, a t-shirt, like a bit of a tri-suit t-shirt, and just felt so much better. And you feel like you're so much lighter. Like change simple things, like I changed my socks because my socks are wet, so I dry socks. And so eventually ran out of transition. I think I had quite a long transition, and then saw all my friends and my family, and it was great. And then I just felt brilliant. I just was like, oh my god, I'm okay. Like my legs feel fine, and I've done a lot of brick sessions running off the bike, and so running felt great, and I was doing a really fast pace, and I was like overtaking everybody, and I thought, oh my god, this is great. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do a sub 4 marathon on this, yeah. Like I've done so much running, and I was running, and then I got to about 12 miles and realised that my legs really hurt, and I started to feel sick, and then I had to slow down, and I was going too fast. So the good thing was, it was my it was my sport, but at the same time I went too fast. So that's a lesson I learned. I went way too fast to start with, and I knew it was a marathon, but I just thought, I don't know, I underestimated how much that would take out of me. So I got to about 12-13 miles, and then it was a struggle. The whole second half of that marathon was a real struggle. You know, my knees started to hurt, my quads are burning, my T-band was burning, you know, the side of your legs. I felt like my right leg just wanted to give way. There's that famous video, isn't there, where the ladies are like crawling across the line. That is literally what my legs started to feel like, just like jelly. And I felt so sick, so I couldn't drink anything but water for the second half of the marathon, so I couldn't see, like my eyes were like all over the place. And I'll tell you something, you can never, unless you've done an Ironman, I cannot possibly explain what I had to do on that second half of the marathon. I had to dig so deep, like deep into my shoes, deeper than my shoes, deep into the ground to possibly give anything. I remember finishing and I was like, I've given everything, every single part of me. I've given all my mental strength, and it was actually the mental strength to keep on going. It got to the point where I was starting to count to 100 to get to the next place, to just keep my mind, because you've been like I did 15 hours and 8 minutes. That's 15 hours and 8 minutes of pure concentration. And I was like 1, 2, 3. I was like, just count to 100 and I'll be at the next bit. And also we mentioned the bike course in the UK Ironman in Bolton is tough. So is the run. The run was uphill.
There's a few hills. There's definitely a few hills.
Yeah, there was quite a few hills, and I was just like, oh my gosh, my legs had just had it. It was pure heart and soul and determination and my mind to just get me across that finish line. I can't describe how tough it was. And you know, there's people walking around you. Like I saw somebody being sick, there's people sat on the side of the road, like people's legs are going everywhere, and it takes so much for you to not stop and walk and for you to go. So I only walked the fuel stations, and I was determined, even though it became like a very slow jog, at least I was just keeping on going. And that was all that was in my head. Just little short goals. Like I knew that for example, there was a group of girls there and I'd passed them before, if I could just get to the group of girls, then I'd pass the group of girls, and then if I could get to the next hill and just get through that next hill. And you just have these short little targets to get through it, because if you've got 6 miles left, it's way too big to think I've got 6 miles left, because you're so exhausted.
And obviously you have the other issue of that everyone wants to see you. I know I was searching for you while you're out there, and Ironman is lots of ups and downs, and it must be quite difficult to be, when you're having a bad patch, to know that there's a camera looking for you and looking to try and catch you, you know?
Yeah.
Were you conscious of that?
I was conscious of that, because I want to be a good role model for the sport, but also be a good role model for women getting into, you know, endurance or fitness just as a whole, and try and show that anybody can do it. But at the same time, you know, I'm real, I'm a human being, and I'm not scared to show that I'm really struggling. And I think there's a few people on camera, I think yourself as well, saw how much it hurt me and how much I gave into it, and I think that's also important to show. But I did try. I had this thing, right, where there was a lot of people shouting like, "Oh, Charlie," and which I so appreciate so much, because I can't explain how much it helps me. So I had this thing where I'm going to say thank you to everybody, and thank you so much, thank you so much. And I was like, and kept doing that every time. And then for the last 10 miles, it was thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I was like, so I wanted to show my appreciation back for everybody that was supporting me, because there was a lot of support for me out there, and it was so nice. And yeah, having the camera in your face, I remember one of the cameramen caught me on the last half of the marathon and looked at me, and I was like, and he caught me at the start where I was smiling, and I was like, yeah, oh, I feel good, I'm alright, it's my running now, I love running. I think that's what I said, something ridiculous. And then he looked at me and it's like, how far you've got? And I was like, I've still got another loop to do, and the loops are 6 miles, by the way, so the loops aren't small. I was like, I've still got another loop to do, and he was like, okay, you're alright. And I was like, my legs have completely gone. And then he was really kind. He kind of, you know, respected that, because I just had no energy to speak. I remember one of my friends tried to run with me at one point for the last bit. They were so kind, and he was like, I was running out of things to say to you. I was like, well done. And he said, I couldn't say dig deep, because I was like, you've already dug deeper than I can ever imagine. So
obviously I saw you at the finish line. How did you feel the next day? What was the kind of feelings after the race?
This is something that if anybody's going to do an Ironman, to take on board, this was my best bit of advice, because I didn't take this on board. So I did my preparation really well. So pleased with it. You know, did a good half Ironman race in preparation for it. Knew I'd put the training in. Did my race. Was really pleased with my performance for my first Ironman. Crossed the line. I was utterly exhausted, and found it really hard to do the interview at the end. Actually, I was really struggling to get my words out and slurring, and I watched it back and I was really slurring. And then saw my friends, and then walked past everybody, and I was just sick, violently sick everywhere. It was just all the acid and sports drinks, because you're drinking all those. Sport drinks are great for a period of time, but obviously I spent 15 hours drinking them. And then the next day, that night, I was elated, I felt amazing. I was exhausted though, and slept really well. The next day, so happy, like so uplifted, and I was like, oh my god, I'm an Ironman. I could never imagine that I'd ever be an Ironman. I couldn't swim 2 years ago. Then the next day I woke up and I felt so awful. So 2 days after, I felt so, like, I had a major come down. And again, I'm not, you know, afraid to say I had a really bad come down after it, and I was uncontrollably like upset almost, and I was just so tired, you know, when you just get I was so exhausted, but I was really restless with it as well, and I couldn't rest, and I was almost like really agitated and fidgety, and I don't know whether it's because I'd just done that much distance that my body was like couldn't quite handle what it was doing. And I had the worst sickness for about 3 days afterwards. I was being sick every time I exerted myself, like if I went for a walk, and I had really bad vertigo. So I went to the doctors, and they said that the vertigo was from exhaustion and a low blood pressure, and I was really hydrated, like they pinched my skin, dehydrated, pinched my skin, and it was kind of like an old lady skin, because I was really dehydrated. So I think the aftercare is my best bit of advice, is to really be prepared for it, because I wasn't. I thought that, you know, I'd be achy, and I wouldn't be able to walk for a week, but it wasn't like that. It was actually, I felt so ill within myself. I just felt so exhausted, and I think that we really have to respect these distances, because these distances, 2.4 miles swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile marathon, a full marathon, off all that, that's just pushing your body to extreme. That's, your body's had enough, and it's just all in the mind. So I think one thing I've learned is that I really have to respect that, because for about 10 days afterwards I've really struggled. I lacked energy. I had to cancel a couple of work things because I had the worst vertigo. I couldn't stand up properly, and I just had to feed myself constantly and drink because I was so dehydrated. So it was really tough, but if you're prepared for it, I think you'll be okay. It's just the fact that it was a bit of a shock to me, because I didn't really think about the after. I never thought about what would happen afterwards and how you might feel.
So I assume you didn't go and get a tattoo done then?
No, I haven't had a tattoo. Loads of people keep saying to me, you're a 1%er now, go and get a tattoo. Loads of people were tweeting me about it, and but I don't think I'm going to have one, because I don't like it. To me, I know I take the heart from that I've done it, and it'll just be an amazing achievement for me for the rest of my life, and hopefully it'll inspire other people to do it. And I'm not sure I really need a tattoo to hopefully inspire others to do it.
It's really great to actually get the full feel of your race. Obviously we watched you do it, but just getting some of the emotion of what you went through, and we knew you were digging deep.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of times on the race where, on the bike twice, I really, I describe it as in like almost my, when if you're feeling underconfident, you're feeling low, you kind of walk like this with your head down and stooped. That's what I felt like twice on the bike. I was just like, head was low. I was really uncomfortable. My back was spasming. I was cold. I wore, I had to wear jackets. Everybody wore jackets in a July Ironman. And it was just really tough. It was really, really tough, and I really had to dig so deep, and then you do go through so many emotions. On the marathon, I think I must have got about 8 miles to go, and I literally nearly wanted to burst out crying. You just become sort of overwhelmed with emotion sometimes, and because you're so exhausted, like I can't even describe the exhaustion, and my legs just wanted to give way, and it's like, oh God, this is so hard. And then I was like, but I have to do this, I have to finish. And it's funny because beforehand I was talking about time, and I ran a bit of a competition where if you guessed my time, the money would go to Centrepoint, which is a youth homelessness charity, and you would get free sketches for a year. And so there was a lot of talk about my time, and then when I started the actual race, I was like, you know what, I don't care what time I get as long as I can finish, because it's an achievement to finish. I know people that didn't finish, that got cut off on the bike, and it's just an amazing achievement to actually finish that distance, and that's what it's all about. And I realised that, not before, I realised that only when I was racing it. That when I was running, I was like, I'm dying on the run, I've gone too fast, I've got nothing left. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm so silly to think I could get a good marathon time. But for my first Ironman, I just had to respect the distance, and it was all about just getting to the end and getting to the next point.
And moving on from that, will we see you at another Ironman? Is it something,
When I finished, my mum said to me, I want you to sign something to say that you're never going to do an Ironman. It was heartbreaking seeing you suffer so badly. But my mum knows me. She's a bit crazy as well, so she knows that that's never going to happen. I think I will do another Ironman, but I would do maybe one in Norway or Germany where it's a bit flatter. I'm so proud that I did the UK one as my first one, and I really want to support the UK Ironman, but I think for my own sake of my back and my well-being, I need to go and do a flat one. So I think I will do one more, because I want to see what time I can get on a flat one and learn from my mistakes, because I've done that one, so I want to learn from it, and I want to take that into another race, because I made so many mistakes that I can learn from. And then I think I'm going to do a couple of half Ironmans. I think half Ironman's my distance. Sprints are too quick for me, so I think maybe I'll do the odd sprint or odd Olympic, but I really want to continue triathlon because I've put so much into it, and I've found this like complete love and passion for triathlon and marathons. I'm still going to do my marathons. I love doing marathons, so I think I'm going to do a marathon in January, Houston Marathon with sketches, which I did last year, and actually try and race that, maybe try and get a good time on that one, and then look at doing a half Ironman next year, maybe leave the Ironman for a couple of years, because also you can only really do one Ironman in a year, otherwise it just wrecks your body, and the training is really intense. You have to, like, my time management became amazing because trying to fit work in, family, friends, partners, you know, you have to, partner, you have to really be so strict with your time.
Well, it's been great to chat to you, and you know, we love the fact that you love triathlon and you're doing so well, and we look forward to seeing you race again.
Yeah, thank you, I can't wait. So yeah, half Ironman, I reckon.
Brilliant. Thanks, Charlie. All the best.
Thank you.